Hello friends, you've just unlocked another chapter of the past, hidden, untold, and waiting to be discovered. This is Buried Truths. Let's view the video.
In the fog of World War II, one type of soldier became more feared than artillery or tanks, the sniper. Operating in silence, cloaked in camouflage, and often invisible to their prey, these lone marksmen changed the course of battles with a single shot. They were the ghosts of the battlefield. Snipers weren't just assassins with rifles. They were tacticians, observers, and masters of concealment. Positioned far from the main force, their missions could last hours or even days, often with limited food and water. Patience, precision, and nerves of steel made them one of the deadliest forces in the war. Unlike machine gunners or bomber pilots, snipers worked in solitude. They formed an unspoken bond with their rifles, studied the enemy's movements, and pulled the trigger only when it truly mattered. Their targets were often officers, medics, or communication lines, decisions that could paralyze enemy operations in moments. But even in this brutal setting, many snipers followed an unspoken code of conduct. Some refused to shoot medics. Others spared soldiers taking water or helping the wounded. These weren't rules written in manuals, but moral lines drawn by men navigating a gray world between survival and savagery. WW2 saw snipers rise in every army: German, Soviet, American, British, and Finnish. Some were celebrated heroes, others vanished into history. Their roles varied from defense in cities to jungle warfare and snowy forests. No matter the terrain, they left a psychological imprint far beyond the physical wounds they inflicted. The presence of a sniper could halt an entire unit. Soldiers feared every step, every exposed position. A single shot triggered panic, retreat, or chaos. Commanders knew the value of skilled snipers, often deploying them as both weapons and tools of terror against unsuspecting enemies. This series uncovers the world of WW2 snipers, their unwritten rules, their deadliest duels, and the strange honor among silent killers. We will peel back the camouflage to reveal the psychology, the precision, and the pain behind the scope. These weren't just soldiers, they were shadows with purpose, and their stories demand to be told. World War II snipers operated in a world where morality was constantly tested. Beyond military orders, many snipers followed personal codes, rules not written in handbooks, but engraved in conscience. These unwritten guidelines defined who they would kill, when they would shoot, and how far they'd go to win. Some snipers refused to shoot soldiers during vulnerable moments, while eating, praying, or helping the wounded. There was a strange sense of fairness among enemies who might never meet. These choices weren't weakness, but quiet acts of humanity in a war where compassion was in short supply. One common rule: never shoot medics. Medics, often marked with red crosses, were considered off-limits by many Allied and Axis snipers. Killing one could devastate morale, but sparing them allowed wounded men a chance. This act of restraint showed that even killers with scopes had invisible moral boundaries. Another rule involved avoiding unnecessary kills. A good sniper didn't shoot to rack up bodies, they aimed to disrupt, to create fear, or to strike at command structures. Snipers avoided wasteful bloodshed, understanding the weight of every shot. Efficiency and purpose replaced brutality in their mission objectives. Soviet sniper Lyudmila Pavlichenko said she only killed when it mattered, targeting officers, machine gunners, or commanders. She believed in striking where it would hurt the enemy most. Her method followed a principle: kill once, but make it count. Her 309 confirmed kills weren't random, they were strategic. There were also rules about mercy. If an enemy was wounded and screaming, some snipers offered a swift death. Others turned away. These quiet, personal decisions haunted snipers more than the confirmed kills. Their trigger fingers didn't just decide life and death, they carried lifelong emotional consequences. These codes varied by individual and army, but one truth remained: snipers had to decide what kind of men they'd be when the war ended. Their war was fought in silence, but the choices they made shouted forever in their memories. Even in war, some ghosts refused to forget. Snipers in World War II weren't just shooters, they were instruments of fear. The presence of a single hidden sniper could stall an entire battalion. Every footstep, breath, and movement became a gamble. Psychological warfare was their true weapon, turning nerves into their most reliable bullet on the battlefield. Soldiers feared what they couldn't see. A rustling leaf, a distant glint, or a sudden silence could send entire squads diving for cover. Even a missed sniper shot could paralyze enemy advances for hours. The suspense of being watched, but not knowing from where, was crippling. Snipers often manipulated fear tactically. Some intentionally wounded soldiers instead of killing them. The cries would lure medics and helpers into range, spreading panic. This cruel trick made enemy troops hesitate before rescuing comrades, turning compassion into risk and disrupting the enemy's unity and morale. Snipers also targeted officers and radio operators, breaking the chain of command. When a unit saw its leader fall without warning, confusion and terror followed. Soldiers began questioning every safe path and every decision. The sniper's bullet didn't just kill bodies, it killed confidence and control. Even the terrain became hostile under sniper fire. Streets, forests, and windows transformed into killing zones. Soldiers crawled, stayed low, or refused to move at all. A battlefield ruled by a sniper wasn't loud, it was deadly quiet. Silence itself became a psychological weapon that devoured courage. For the sniper, the pressure was no less intense. Long hours in stillness, complete isolation, and the responsibility of choosing who lived or died left deep mental scars. Many snipers described a cold detachment, but the toll caught up after the war. Their minds remained battlegrounds long after the rifles were packed away. This deadly psychological game shaped entire campaigns. From Normandy hedgerows to Stalingrad's ruins. Snipers haunted the minds of soldiers more than any artillery shell. They didn't just pull triggers, they broke spirits. The war within the mind was one that no helmet, no bunker, and no training could fully defend against. Some of World War II's most intense combat didn't happen in trenches or city streets, it happened between two snipers hunting each other in silence. These duels were deadly chess games, often lasting days. No second chances, no backup. It was a contest of patience, cunning, and perfect marksmanship. The most famous sniper duel was at the Battle of Stalingrad. Soviet sniper Vasily Zaitsev claimed to have faced off against a German sniper school director, Major Erwin König. Their three-day battle became legendary, a symbolic fight between Soviet resilience and German precision. Only one would walk away. Zaitsev outsmarted König using clever tactics. He placed a helmet on a stick to bait König into revealing his position. After hours of tension, König's small movement gave him away. Zaitsev fired, and the duel ended. While historians debate the duel's authenticity, it lives in legend and Soviet war propaganda. Another gripping story comes from Finnish sniper Simo, nicknamed White Death. Using iron sights in snowy camouflage, he took out over 500 Soviet soldiers in a few months. Soviet snipers were sent specifically to eliminate him. None succeeded. His duels took place in -40°C temperatures and required superhuman stealth. German sniper Matthias Hetzenaar fought on the Eastern Front with 345 confirmed kills. He often engaged in long-range sniper duels, outmatching Soviet counterparts with patience and precision. He wrote that the worst part wasn't killing, it was the fear of being watched by another hidden scope while lying motionless for hours. American snipers also experienced deadly one-on-one battles. Particularly in the Pacific. Jungle warfare offered dense cover, but also heightened danger. Sniper duels in the Philippines and Iwo Jima were brutal, with each side using deception, decoys, reflections, and mimicry, to draw out their enemy before firing a single decisive shot. Sniper duels weren't just personal, they were symbolic. They reflected the war's psychological depth, where two unseen warriors clashed with silent weapons. In these moments, the battlefield shrank to just 2 lives, 2 minds, and 1 bullet. These encounters defined sniper lore and left scars that history could never quite erase. In a war dominated by men, female snipers emerged as deadly outliers. On the Eastern Front, the Soviet Union recruited thousands of women as snipers. They weren't just filling gaps, they redefined the battlefield. With discipline, patience, and unmatched aim, they proved that courage and lethality knew no gender boundaries. The most famous of them all was Lyudmila Pavlichenko. With 309 confirmed kills, she became the most lethal female sniper in history. Her victims included enemy snipers and officers. Nicknamed Lady Death, she inspired fear on the front lines and admiration across nations, even visiting the White House to rally support. Pavlichenko's story wasn't just about numbers, it was about resilience. She survived artillery fire, sniper duels, and the immense psychological weight of war. She once said, "I am killing fascists." For her, it wasn't personal, it was duty. Yet her eyes carried the weight of every soul she stopped. She wasn't alone. Snipers like Rosa Shanina, credited with 59 kills, became heroes in the Red Army. Shanina was known for her cool nerve and precision under fire. Despite her youth, she volunteered for frontline action and often operated ahead of infantry, fearlessly facing German counter-snipers in open fields. These women weren't given special treatment. They endured the same brutal conditions, hiding in snow, crawling through mud, and enduring constant threat. They trained for months in camouflage, ballistics, and stealth. Many were under 25, yet they hunted veteran soldiers with discipline and lethal skill matched by few. Nazi propaganda dismissed them at first, but soon German soldiers feared them. Entire units were warned to avoid areas where female Soviet snipers were active. Their gender was no weakness, it became psychological warfare. To be hunted by an unseen woman unnerved even the most hardened Wehrmacht troops. These women weren't anomalies, they were pioneers. In a war of brutality, they showed that sniper warfare wasn't only about muscle, but mindset. Their legacy outlived the battlefield, redefining gender roles in war and history. They weren't just behind the scope, they were rewriting the rules from behind it. When World War II ended, the rifles were packed away, but the memories stayed loaded. Snipers returned home not as celebrated heroes, but as haunted veterans. They carried the weight of their decisions, each shot fired, each life taken. The silence that once protected them now echoed with guilt and ghosts. Many WW2 snipers never spoke openly about their roles. Their kills were counted, not discussed. Unlike bomber crews or infantrymen, snipers bore a personal connection to every death. They saw their victims' eyes through the scope. That intimacy made post-war adjustment difficult, more so than for most other combat veterans. Some tried to justify their actions with logic. It was war. I followed orders. But deep down, many questioned where duty ended and murder began. The unwritten sniper code helped some find peace, knowing they had spared medics or made strategic choices. For others, no justification was ever enough. Post-war interviews reveal the psychological toll. Vasily Zaitsev struggled with partial blindness and depression. Simo lived a quiet life but avoided fame. These men, who once turned war into calculation, found civilian life deeply complex. Their accuracy couldn't protect them from nightmares, flashbacks, or moral reckoning. Yet, many nations honored them. Memorials, books, and films immortalized their deeds. Zaitsev became a Soviet hero, Pavlichenko was celebrated worldwide. These recognitions served not only as tribute but as reminders of what snipers endured: solitude, precision, ethical burden, and immense psychological cost of their missions. The legacy of WW2 snipers shaped modern warfare. Today's sniper training includes not only tactics and technology but also psychological conditioning and moral discussions. The silent questions of WW2, who deserves to die? What does one bullet mean, still linger in sniper schools and ethics boards worldwide. Snipers were both feared and forgotten. They operated in shadows and returned to them. But their legacy forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about war, morality, and memory. Their quiet sacrifices didn't always earn medals, but they earned a place in history where silence speaks louder than explosions.
Thanks for watching Buried Truths. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden corners of history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more powerful stories from history's hidden vault. See you in the next video.